Hello everyone, I'm Maryknoll Father Joe Veneroso, coming you today from our headquarters in Maryknoll, New York, in the city of Ossining, about 20 miles north of New York City. I was a missionary in Korea for 12 years, but I continue to work among the Korean people in New York. I've been doing this since 1985, and in many ways they're not just my second home, they're my first home. My heart has always been with the Korean people. My story starts back after I graduated from college, the University of Albany. And I wanted to serve my country, so I applied to the Peace Corps. Peace Corps sent me to Korea. And to be honest, I was lost for the first 3 months. I didn't speak the language. I wasn't accustomed to the food. Everything looked strange. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what am I doing? But little by little, the Korean people won me over, to the point where I would be quite happy if I could spend the rest of my days in Korea. And how did that happen? Well, first, in the Peace Corps, the energy, the enthusiasm, the positivity of the Korean students was very infectious. They were filled with a longing to learn, and they were very, very good students and hard workers. And then one day, my friend asked me if I wanted to go during one of our summer breaks to teach English to Korean seminarians on a small island in the Yellow Sea, Dokchok Island. I had nothing better to do, so I went. And there, I ran into Maryknoll Father Ben Zweber. I had never heard of Maryknoll before, but he looked so happy and so fulfilled in what he was doing. It naturally appealed to me, for I had for 10 years been thinking about becoming a priest. But for some reason, it didn't seem like I belonged quite here at home in the Diocese of Albany. So we talked about it, and it was very odd, thinking about joining a society that I had never heard of the day before. And yet the more I learned about Maryknoll, the more I wanted to join. So from that workshop on the island, I went to Incheon City and I met Bishop McNaughton. I came back to New York. I met with the advancement board. The next thing I knew, I was in the seminary. And it's been a marvelous adventure, not always easy, but always challenging. I will just tell you one story that happened when I was pastor of a small parish, a new parish, in the Diocese of Masan. We had to raise funds for the new church. So we would go and we'd visit the people all around. We came to one woman's house. She was elderly. Her name was Anna. She had very little money, but she wanted to help with the church. So what did she do? She went to her room. She gave us $2,000. And we said, what? You can't afford this. She was saving money to get a hip replacement. And she said to us, I'm old. I don't know how long I'm going to live. Give this to a young person instead. If you do not accept this, you'll be rubbing my poverty in my face. So we accepted it. We fast forward a year, and we're dedicating the new church. And we're talking about what kind of ceremony would we like to have that captured the spirit of all the people. Can we not choose one of the many benefactors we have and make them the recipient of an honor on behalf of all the benefactors? And it was natural that we chose Anna. She didn't know this was going to happen. So we're having the dedication for the church, and she was sitting in the back, and I called out her name, and she was quite surprised. And we said, Anna, would you come forward? And two young Korean women in their Korean costumes helped Anna move forward because she had her bad hip. She was walking very slowly. Whilst she's walking up, I'm reading the gospel of the widow's mite when Jesus sat outside the treasury and he and the apostles listened to how much money people were putting in. And Jesus asked them, who do you think put in the most? And they didn't know how to answer. And then he pointed to a widow and said, she gave the most. Everyone else gave from their abundance. She gave from her necessity. And so as I'm reading this story, up comes Anna. She's in tears. The parish is in tears. We're all crying. It was a good one. So in her name, we put up a plaque on behalf of all the benefactors. Well, now we fast forward 6 months. The local Catholic newspaper in Taegu heard about Anna's story and published it. Then the hospital in Taegu, where she was going to have her surgery, said, we will donate the surgery for her. So we told her, and being the woman that she was, she said, well, I gratefully accept, but don't give it to me. She goes, I'm so old. Give it to a young person who'll get more use out of it. So once again, we listened to her. Well, as Providence would have it, she was the first person in our parish to die. So hers was the first funeral. And there's a beautiful and haunting chant that the Koreans do called the Yeondo at the morning service, when they do the wake service. And there's different parts for the pastor, for the people, etc. But there's one part that the children are supposed to chant for their deceased parent. Well, since there were no children of hers present, all the children of the parish came forward and said that prayer for her. So Anna got honored in a very special way, but that's not the end of the story. A few months later, there's a knock on my door. A young woman is there. I said, can I help you? And she said, I'm Anna's daughter. We had a falling out many years ago. I haven't seen her or spoken to her since, and I informed her that she had died. I took her to her gravesite. This time she herself said the prayers for the dead. And in these little experiences show me the Spirit of God working in and through the people on the most basic levels of life and death, of happiness and sadness, that this only kept on reinforcing my desire to be not just a priest, but a missionary in Korea. I hope some of you can relate to this. We are all called by virtue of our baptism to be missionaries, which means we don't go around imposing what we believe, but we go around sharing what we believe. I like to call missionaries as mirrors of grace. We mirror back to the people the goodness, the faith, the beauty that we see in them. And together we advance step by step, day by day, along the road that leads to the kingdom of God. God bless you. Please check out Maryknoll Fathers and Brothers website on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok. We're all over the place. And you can learn more about us, our charism, and what you can do for